Good morning. We will start. Okay, the midterm is cancer. So because of that, we shift the CA percentage. Okay, there will be more weightage on the assignment and the group presentations. Today we'll talk about network security. We only do the part 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, up to denial of service attacks. And there's 3 books, okay, on mainly on firewall design. So in the previous lectures, okay, we go through a lot of cryptography primitive for authenticity and confidentiality. I also mentioned that the cryptography is very useful. Okay, suppose we have two communicating party, Alice and Bob, and there is a man in the middle, a Maori there who can sniff and spoof the message. And by the use of cryptography, using the encryptions, MAC, and PKI, we can secure this channel. Okay, we can secure this channel so that it's as good as you have a dedicated wired connection between Alice and Bob, and no one is able to tap into the cable. So have we done everything for the communication? In fact, not yet. Okay, it's much more complicated like that. In network security, there are many other requirements besides authenticity, integrity. There are also questions on availabilities. Okay, attacker who intentionally want to disrupt the connections. There's also notion of anomalies. Okay, there are there are clients who want to visit a website and don't want to be traced. So you may have heard of Tor network and dark web. Okay, it's about anomalies. And there are also access control. Okay, we want to isolate the network so that a certain part of the network is not exposed to the internet. Okay, so and so on. Okay. And there are also many other informations to be protected. Besides the information Alice sent to Bob, there are many intermediate nodes. And for example, information like DNS, we are going to talk about it, routing informations. Okay. And because there are a lot of other parties involved, okay, so this will come to an issue of how do we isolate and control the information flow. So there is a management issue of, in particular on firewall. So some of us, okay, in the class have done introduction to networking, but I think many haven't. Okay, so today I will give some background on networking. Okay, introduction in networking. I will only focus on the notion that is required for this module. Okay, in particular, these 3 notions: layerings, namings, and ports. Okay. So what is a computer networks? Computer networks establish communications between entities, right? Okay. So in these pictures, you can see that we have 6 entities, 6 persons. They are trying to connect to each other. And one way to have connection is to have a dedicated line between every pairs. That means there's a line here, there's a line here, there's a line here, and so on. And very fast, you can see that this doesn't scale. Okay, what if we have 1 million entities? It will not scale. And also, there's a robustness issue also. For example, this line may be cut. If this line is cut, there's no way for ID1 to communicate to ID2. Okay. So the idea to overcome this, okay, to get to scale to many entities and to have enhanced robustness, we use something called packet switching. Okay. What is packet switching? You may have seen this type of scene in an old movie, right? Or movie where there is a switchboard. Okay. If one person, let's say ID1, want to call ID5, you want to make a phone call. Okay. So in the old days, you want to make a phone call, the ID1 will pick up the phone and speak to an operator there. There's an operator. Okay, you pick it up, at the other end there's an operator. This operator sit in here. Okay, sit in here. And then you tell the operator who you want to talk to. So you tell the operator, I would like to talk to ID5. Okay, ID1 pick it up, say that I want to talk to ID5. So in front of the operator, there's a big switchboard. There's a switchboard, okay, with a lot of port or plug. Okay. So the operator will take a cable and literally plug into ID1 and link to ID5. Okay. So now there is a cable or wired joining from the ID1 to ID5. Okay, you can see, imagine behind here, this link to ID1, behind here, this link to ID5. Okay. So the operator sit in front of this switch box. Okay. He can take the plug. Okay. He plug in ID1, ID5. Then there's a connection for ID1 all the way to ID5. Okay. She can also take out the plug. Okay. And connect it to, let's say, ID6. Okay. Then the connection is from ID1 to ID6. Okay. So this is a purpose of the switchboard. Of course, right now we don't have a human sitting here doing the switches. Okay, now it's all done electronically. Okay, so there is a switches. That functionality essentially is this one. Okay. Right? Yeah. And also, we can have a multiple hop. Okay, so you can imagine that this is one city, and this one is another city. Okay, if ID1 want to talk to ID2 in this case, okay, so you will tell the operator here, and the operator will plug the switch so that this will go to here, okay, and then this one, there's another person sitting here, connect the port, and then there's a cable linking here. Okay, the switch will connect these two here at these 2 points here. So now you have a line, right, of communication between ID1 and ID2. Okay. And you can see that there are two ways for ID1 to talk to ID2. Okay. There are two ways. One is going through this, and the other one is going through this. Right, there are two possible routes. Okay. And this is called routing. So in a computer network, the decision of how the connection is to be linked is called a route, and it's called a routing decision, okay, algorithms. Right? And also, you note that if suppose ID1 is going to talk to ID2, okay, this part and the route go through this way. Okay, this part will be occupied by ID1 and ID2. Okay. And maybe ID3 want to talk to ID6, then this one is being used. Right? Okay. Now there's no way for ID4 to connect to ID5. Okay. Because these two guys occupy these ID2 link, and let's say they use it for 2 hours, they have some business to talk about, okay, so no one can connect. So how do we handle this? In the computer network, they come up with a nice idea called packets. Okay. So the time is divided, all the message is divided to small pieces. Okay. So when ID1 and ID2 want to have a connection, okay, you can imagine the time is divided, okay, so that for very short time is used by by this link, and for another very short time is used by ID3 and ID5. Right. So if you view this as time, so for this small period of time is used by ID2 and ID1. This small period of time used by another guy, and so on. There's some time sharing on it. And this is done by using the mechanism of packets. You break the message to small packets and then send a packet. And while during the empty slot, other people can use the resources. Okay? So this roughly give an overview of what is a computer network. Okay, there's a notion of switching. Okay, and there's a notion of breaking down to packets, and there's a notion of how do I decide where to route to the from the source to the destination. Fine. Okay. So in a computer networking, okay, we study computer network. A lot of time we focus on how to efficiently send a packet, send information from point A to point B. Okay. In network security, we look at the security problem. Okay, that means that we assume that there is a adversary here, okay, who want to compromise the network. Okay, compromise in what sense? Okay, he want to sniff, he want to listen, he want to extract information of the message, or he want to modify the message, the authenticity, or he want to disrupt the services. This is availabilities. Okay, and then we always assume the attacker could be someone. For example, this node could be the attacker. This node, the intermediate node, could be an attacker. Or the attacker could be someone who can listen, or they control certain nodes, or even all the nodes. Okay, in this case, this is what sometimes we call it the big brother scenario. Attacker control all the infrastructures. Okay. So we want it to be secure even under such adversaries. So the network protocol, they are abstract as layers. Okay, you may have heard of this. Like the layer 1 is called physical, data link, network, transport, and application layers. The OSI model gives 7 layers. In our module, we are only interested in this. In fact, only these 4 layers. Okay, yeah. So what are layers? Later I give more examples. Conceptually, you can view as every layer provide a connection or services. Okay, this layer provide a connection services for layer 2. Okay, and second layer 2 provide some connection services for layer 3, and so on and so on. So if a layer 3 want to send something to the other end, he will call services, okay, or you say can view it as an API call to layer 2 to send it. Okay. So give examples. Okay. Suppose layer 3, okay, hypothetical examples. Layer 3 want to provide a service called handshake. So anyone in layer 4, if they want to connect the other part, they will just call invoke handshake provided by layer 3. Okay. So this handshake protocol is consists of these few steps in layer 3, right? First step, Alice will send to B, Alice will send to Bob, hello, and Bob then will send to A the certificate of B. Right? So this is the protocol in layer 3. Okay. Then in layer 3, what is A sent to B? Okay. A sent to B is actually a service provided by layer 2. Okay. So this program or this protocol use layer 2 connection to send hello and to send the certificate. Okay. Together, this set of protocol, he call it handshake, and anyone in layer 4 can use this handshake protocol. Okay, you can view it as making a subroutine call. Okay, layer 4 make a subroutine call handshake, then the layer 3 will execute all this, and the A sent to B, B sent to A is another subroutine call made by layer 3 to layer 2. Okay, fine. So the internet layers, they are they are application, transport, network, datagram, and physical. Okay. So a node, okay, suppose you can visualize this is a node. Your mobile phone is a node. Okay, so this is one node. This is one node. Okay, your mobile phone is a node. A laptop is a node. A web server is a node. Okay. A node in the network have a address or a names. Right. Okay. You probably know of something called IP address and domain names. Okay. These are names used at different layers. Okay. Just as I mentioned, you can visualize every layer is some virtual connections. Okay. Layer 1 is some virtual connection, layer 2 is one virtual connection, and so on. So this node, let's suppose that this is your laptop. Okay. It has different names at different layers. Okay. At the data link layer, its name is MAC address. The network layer, its name is called IP address. At the transport layer, its name is called port. At the some application layer, you have something called domain names. Okay, this is very important. Okay, I will talk about it later. So example domain name is bbc.com. Example port number is 80. IP address, probably have seen this before. Okay, it's 4 bytes. Okay, for IPv4. And MAC address. Okay, this is a MAC address 246 6 bytes. Okay, I mentioned this. Okay. So in every layer, very often the message is divided to small pieces. Small pieces. Okay, and for example, when the application layer, okay, application layer pass information to layer 3, layer 4, for example, application layer want to send a 7 GB files. Okay, so it pass this 7 GB files to the layer 4. Then layer 4 will break it to pieces. Okay. Layer 4 will break it to datagrams. Okay. And then he asks for each datagram, he will ask the layer 3 to send. He passes to layer 3. Okay. Then layer 3 may further break it to pieces. And then every pieces is called a packets. Then he pass it to layer 2. Say, layer 2, please send this packet to the other side. And layer 2 may further break it to pieces, and that is called frames. These are just names. Datagram, packets, and frames. Okay. So every piece of this information, okay, or a packet, a frames, or datagram consists of 2 important parts. One part is called the header. The other part is called a payload. Payload is a message to be sent. Header are some metadata containing that the address of the sender, address of the destination, and so on. Okay, fine. Yeah. The header over here, I say that there are many information about in the header. For example, the size of the packet, checksum, number of hop for IP. But the two important piece of important information is who is the sender and who is the receiver. Okay, you can visualize that every packet is a letter, okay, envelope, where you put there the address of recipient and the address of the sender. Okay. Okay, let's go look at examples. Okay. So now, okay, this is this you can see there are 5 layers here. Okay. Suppose this laptop, okay, this desktop want to connect to bbc.com. bbc.com is this site. Okay, this is a laptop, and let's suppose this bbc.com. Okay. So now the user, run a browser and say that I want to visit bbc.com and get me this image, the logo image. Okay, some of you may have know that something called HTTP GET, right? Okay, so the browser issue this command. Okay, browser run at the application layer. Okay, so at the application layer, he issue a command. Okay, he want to get as a user, you instruct the browser to get this for you. Okay, so this will go to the application layer. The application start to process this piece of information, right? User say get bbc.com image logo.png for me. Then this application, which is a piece of program, started to process these informations. He do a few things. Okay, first he will look up, okay, which I am going to talk about it later, more later. He will look up the IP address of bbc.com. Okay, he will look up the IP address of bbc.com and determine the port number to be used. Port number is to this port number. Okay. Then he passed this information. Then he started this as an application layer, right? This application layer. Then he started to invoke. Okay, he started to call, use the services provided at the transport layer. Okay, so the program in the browser. Okay, he started to use the transport layer. He said that please send this message. Get me whatever to this port and this address. Okay, he passed it to the layer 4. Okay, after layer 4 received this information, okay, he started to process it. What did he do? He will divide this long piece of information into datagram. He divide it into smaller pieces. Okay, and then he add in the port number, and you do a lot of things. Actually, for TCP, you have to keep track who has received it, who haven't received it. Okay. And then, in order to send one datagram, okay, he will ask the layer 3 to do it. So he pass down to layer 3 and say that, hello, can you send this piece of datagram for me? So at layer 3, then he started to form packets, heading, find out the routing information, and so on and so on. And then he found that, hey, instead of sending to this address, I should send to this MAC address. Okay, so then he pass it to this, and so on, and go to the physical layer, and the packet is sent. Okay, the information is sent, the data is sent. Okay. At the receiver side, which is bbc.com, then he reverse the process all the way to the application layer. Fine. So you can also visualize this, okay, as in this way. You can also visualize this in this way. So the user, okay, pass a piece of data, to the application layer. For example, HTTP in this example. This data is a 7 GB movie. Or 100K images. Okay, 7 GB look too big. Okay, let's make it smaller. Okay, images, a digital image. about 200K. Okay. So when he using HTTP, he will give him the name of domain names. Okay. So you can imagine that this is a building. This is a building. Okay. The boss sit on top. Okay. The boss sit on top, and this is a different layer. This is a different floor in the building. Okay. The boss pass the information telling people at the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Send this image to my friend over here. Okay. And my friend's address is this domain names. Okay. So the worker in this floor started to work. Okay, started to work. Okay. And then they take the data, find the correct IP address, and then pass it to the person, the office downstairs. Say that, can you send these images, this data, to this IP address? Okay, now it's IP address. It's no longer domain names, right? Okay. So then the worker in this floor started to chop the image to pieces, okay, and then put in the header. Okay, put in the header. Okay, put in the port number, the sender port number, and the receiver port number. Put it there. Okay, or you can think that he put an envelope. Okay, he take this, put an envelope and package it. Okay, and this whole package is then sent to the floor below. Okay, then the worker there further package it. Okay, and make it longer. So this part here, you can imagine that this part here is actually this one. Okay, he add in additional piece of information, or he may even further break it to smaller pieces. Okay, and then and so on, and so on, and then this send, go back. That's why when you make some online order, when you receive your let's say you make an online order on an iPhone or whatever, when you receive it, you'll receive a big package, right? Although iPhone is so small, you receive very big. When you started to open it up, there's a layer and layer and layer and layer. In the end, you get your small iPhone. Right? Okay, that's during the process. Okay, when they put the iPhone in, then they pass to different department, and every department will put in additional layer. Okay, packaging. So when you look at the actual data being sent, okay, at this point, okay, this is the data to be sent, message to be sent. Okay, and these are all the header information being inserted by various layer. Okay, so this part is information inserted at the higher layer. Okay, because imagine that this is coming down from here, right? So the payload, then this one is injected by layer 4. Right, and then the whole thing is passed to the floor below. Then he add one more information. This is layer 2, and then layer 2 pass to layer 1. Then layer 1 add the information. Okay, so you have layer 4, 3, 2. Right. Okay, so you look at the actual data being sent. Okay, so there is a information here. Then you look at the header information. Usually they will go in this way, 4, 3, 2. Then when the receiver receive it, they throw away this, pass to a higher layer, remove this, pass to a higher layer, and remove this. Fine. Okay. Also, one thing to note is that the data may go through multiple hops. Okay, so this is my laptop, and this is BBC. Okay, this is my laptop. BBC. Okay. when I want to connect to BBC, okay, you go down the layer here. Okay, at some point in time, at one layer, he will figure out that I have to go to my home router first before I directly go to the BBC. Okay, so then he will specify your home router address, which is the MAC address. Okay, this one is the data link layer. So you go down all the way. At this point, you figure out that, okay, I have to go to my home router first. So he will indicate that I'm going from this address, right, going from here, going to this one. Right. So you have domain names, then go to the IP address, and somewhere in the layer 2 here, he figure out that he have to send to your home router first before going to this IP address. Okay, so he formed the packets, okay, saying that going from here to here. So you throw to here and then go. And your home router going up, okay, and figure out that actually instead of going directly to 192.168.0.100, you should go to some other intermediate routes. Okay, so then he will go to here and so on. So go back. Fine. Okay, so the packets the information will go to here, go to some hop, go up, down. Potentially there's up, down somewhere here, up, down, and go up all the way. Okay. So from the security point of view, okay, the implication is this. Our data, when I want to send a piece of information from my laptop to BBC, there are a lot of people here. Okay, a lot of people here who potentially can look at my data. Right? Yeah. So, of course, then we have to protect the information from these people. They can look at it. They can also modify it. So the challenge in network security, the one that I just mentioned, their nodes are owned by many different semi-trusted parties. Okay, and there are many security requirements we have mentioned before. And one of them, okay, this is a little bit irritating, but it's there, is that a lot of design, okay, of the design of many networking protocol was designed 20 years before you are born or even before I'm born. Okay. So when the time when they design, the engineer mindset or thinking design consideration is to be more open so that more people can use the services. And security is not the consideration. It's not the main consideration, and sometimes they didn't even aware that there's an issue of security. So by design, it's not secure. Okay, so this leads to a lot of problems. Okay, there's important remarks on the TCP and the UDP. Okay, so now we look at these two layers. Okay. So we've in this layer, okay, their address is IP address and port number. Okay. So very often the transport layer and IP layer, this layer 3 and 4, is treated as one. Okay, even as from the programmer point of view, we always treat as one. Okay, we want to make a library called OpenSocket or whatever. Very often, we just make a library call and treat them as one layer. Okay. So in this combined layer, the address of an entity will be the IP address and the port. IP address and port. Okay, in this combined layer. So you can imagine this. See the port and the IP address in this way. Every machine, every node, this one represents every node. This one is represent a node, like this laptop. And this one is another desktop, and this another node, Let's suppose it's bbc.com. Okay. Every node have a IP address. Okay, so the IP address of this is 99.123.42. The IP address is 33.43.100.2. And every node each node has many ports. In fact, it's possible to have 65535 ports. Okay, so every node here has many ports. Okay. So when we want to establish a connection, okay, the connection is between two IP address and their port numbers. Okay, so a connection. Suppose there's a connection from here to here, is from this IP address at port 2 and this at port 65533. 65533. Okay. So you want to establish your connections. Okay. You have to have specify the IP address and the port. Okay. And if you are going from the here to there, left to right, the source IP address is 99.123.42, and the source port is 2, and the destination is this one, and the destination port is this. Okay. If the traffic is going from here to there, then the source is 33.43.100.2, and the source port is 65533, and the destination is the other one. Fine. Okay. So for UDP, there are two protocols. Okay, one is called UDP and one is called TCP. Okay. For UDP, okay, you want let's say that you want to send a UDP package. Now imagine that you are a programmer. Okay, you make this you want to make this library call. Okay, either you use Java, Python, or whatever. You will have to make a library call, right? You will have to specify the source port, the destination port, the IP address, okay, of the receiver. Okay, you don't have to specify your own IP address because the library know what is your IP address. Right, you're making a function call, right? Say implicit. Okay, you already know. So you only have to specify the receiver IP address, the receiver port, and your port and the message. Okay. So imagine that you are a programmer, you are the application, you are in the application layer. You want to use the services at the layer 4, then you write a program. You make this function call. Okay, please send my message. The message could be very long. Okay, to this port, this IP address, and my port is 2. Okay, and datagram is a program. Okay. In this library later on, he will chop it to pieces, break it to smaller pieces, and so on and so on, right? But from the application point of view, this is what you see. Okay. So then the library call will then construct this thing and then send. Okay. And for UDP, I should not say that it break into pieces. Okay, this message has to be one piece. Okay, this datagram send is only one datagram. Okay, you will not break it to pieces. Okay, the library will construct this packet and sends, and the size is MODIS and so on. Okay, so datagram send or UDP, he will construct this datagram and send. Okay, this in a military term is a fire and forget. Okay, fire a missile and forget about it. Okay, he will just construct and send. Whether the other end receive it or not, he don't care. Okay, so he doesn't care. Okay, he will just send. Okay, he will not give you a feedback whether this message has been successfully sent, successfully received by the other end. Fine. Okay, so this is a UDP protocol. Okay. There's another protocol called TCP. Okay, TCP protocol is quite involved. Okay, in order to send something, okay, suppose your application layer, you likely write a program like that. First, you say that I want to connect, I want to open connections, I want to establish a connection from this port, okay, and this address, okay. So after this one is called, then the connection is established, then you say send, okay, and now these messages can be very large, okay, and the TCP protocol, then he's responsible to break these very large messages to smaller pieces, and send, okay, and he will try to keep track of whether the other end have received it or not, okay. If the other end have received it, then he will tell you, the TCP, he will tell the TCP. If it did not receive, then he will resend. That's why we call TCP is a reliable communication. Okay, you use TCP, you establish this, then you assume that from the, if you are using this, you assume that the packet will be sent. If you make this function call, we assume that if you return true, then the message has been successfully sent and received by the other end. Fine? Okay, so this difference between UDP and TCP. Okay. For UDP, if you want to send a message, only a datagram is constructed and sent. Okay. For TCP, you want to send a long piece, a large piece of information, the protocol will chop it to pieces. There's a lot of interaction involved, okay, and then the TCP will try to will make sure that the receiver end have received the message, okay, in the correct order. Okay. So although TCP is reliable, intermediate nodes can still modify the data and can also see the data. Okay, he only makes sure that the service is is available and carried out. The data is sent, but he did not take care of the confidentiality and integrity. Okay, so for example, the intermediate node can act as the man in the middle between Alice and Bob. Fine. Okay, so this is optional. You want to look at the organization of the packets. Okay. There's something called listening port. Okay. Have you heard of a term called port scanning? Okay. So what do we mean by listening to a port, a closed port, and port scanning? Okay. So this is one node. Okay. Imagine that this computer. Okay, and you have an IP address. This is an IP address, and you have many virtual ports, 65536 of them. Okay. And this computer, you look at the behind. There's a cable. Okay, there's a cable, Ethernet cable. So data has been continuously sent to this laptop. You receive many data. Some data is going to the port 65536, some going 65535. Okay, there's no 65536. Okay, some will go to port 0, some go to port 1, some go to port 2, some go to port 3, and so on. Okay, and in this node, okay, there are a lot of daemon background process running. Right, we know that the modern computer system is multitasking. A lot of processors are run concurrently. Okay. So there could be one processor, okay, over here, who always check whether there are messages coming through port 1. Okay. You can imagine the OS here, a lot of data coming in. Okay. When the data coming in, then he started to distribute to different ports. Okay, this information is for port 0, this information for port 1. There's some buffer for him to temporarily put the piece of information there. Then there is a process here. This particular process, background process, he listened to port 1. What do you mean by listen to port 1? He will regularly go to check, anything coming in from port 1. Okay? If there's something coming in from port 1, he will take it and process it. Okay? And he will check whether something coming in from port 65536, 65533. Okay, this is another process. Okay? You will know that web server, suppose there's a web server, there will be a process, keep listening to the port 80. Okay, the port 80 is for HTTP, right? Okay. So if there is no processors listening to that port, the packets that go, information going to this port eventually will be dropped. Okay, this is a closed port. Okay. Okay. So listening port means that there's a background, there's a processors there listening to it. A closed port means that no one listening to it. So any packet that's sent to it will be dropped. Okay, this one have a lot of security implications. Okay, implication. So why security implication? Data that go into here will be dropped. Data that going into here will be processed. Suppose you are the attacker. You view yourself as an attacker. Okay, and the attacker, this is an attacker. Okay, want to compromise this machine remotely. Attacker connected to the node remotely and want to compromise this machine. Okay. He will send information to data to this machine. Okay. Will the data be processed? If he send to port 2, will the data be processed? No. Okay. The data will be processed by those listening port only. Okay. For example, if you know that there's some vulnerability in this process, then he send to this port number, then this vulnerable program who have a bug will process the information, and then there's a possibility of compromising the machine. There's no point sending something to a closed port, okay, because it will be dropped anyway. Right, you can imagine that there's this person here, okay, and then you want to brainwash him. Okay, you want to brainwash this particular person. Then you want to brainwash a particular person, you keep talking to him. If he's not listening, there's no use. You have to choose the port that he's listening to. Okay, for example, you know that this particular teenager liked K-pop very well. Then you have to start to converse with her or him on topics on K-pops. Okay, that is a port that the person is listening to. Okay, otherwise you talk about politics, talking about difficult problem in mathematics, open problem of mathematics. No matter what you said, he or she will not listen. The port is closed. There's no way to brainwash him by telling him something about politics. Okay. So you have to find out what is the port this person listening to, and from the attacker point of view, you want to know what port is open. Okay. So typical techniques, okay, the first techniques, okay, in the attacks is to do what we call port scanning. Okay, you are an attacker, and this one is a machine. Then you started to try each of the port one by one and see which one is listening. Okay. After that, then we'll start to see what is the next step. Okay? Yeah. We take 2 minutes break. Okay. So I have to take a photograph. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the next topics called name resolutions and attacks. Okay, just now I mentioned that every peers, every node here have names at every layers, different layers. Okay, in the single nodes, different layers, the name is different. Okay, there are a name of domain names, ports, IP address, and MAC. Okay, for this attack we are going to talk about, called name resolution attacks, port number is not important. There's no attack on port number. So let's remove this. Okay, let's consider only these three: domain names, IP address, and MAC address. Okay. So this is a single node, and they have three addresses. Okay. So we're at the application layer, okay, when we want to visit a website, we only know the domain name of the website. We do not know the IP address. Okay. In fact, the IP address may keep changing because the web server may change locations. And domain name may have multiple IP address also. Could be. Okay. Yeah. So we need a process to look out the IP address of the domain names. Okay. So this process somehow is called resolution. Okay. So at the different layer, there are different addresses. If you want to find the associating addresses, then the process is called resolution. Okay, resolution protocol. Okay. So there are two resolution protocol we are interested in. Is basically the ARP, which is address resolution protocol. Address resolution protocol, happen to be called ARP. This is to, oh sorry, I inverted. This one should be here. There's a typo. Should be the other way around. Okay. ARP is to do a translation from IP address to MAC address. Okay. And DNS is a protocol to resolve from domain name to IP address. Fine. Okay, there are two protocols here. One is to do the translation of these two, and the other one is do this one. Okay, domain name and IP address is called DNS. DNS is, and IP address to MAC address is called ARP. ARP. Fine. Yeah. And these are designed many years ago, okay? Before you are born, definitely. I do not know whether it's designed before I'm born. Okay, yeah. So then, when they designed this, they did not think of the security. So there is no security mechanism in the protocol. Okay. And now there are two attacks. One attack is to attack the domain names. It's called, the other one is to attack ARP. Okay, fine. Let's look at the DNS first. DNS is easier. Okay, easier. Domain name system, okay, is a resolutions, okay, to get the domain name to IP address. Okay. Suppose I want to know a domain name, the IP address of this domain name. Okay, right now I'm this laptop. Okay, I want to connect to this website. So in this desktop, when I key in www.com.nus.edu.sg, the browser need to find out the IP address. Okay, so how does it do it? They look it out from the so-called DNS server. Okay, so the browser here will contact a DNS server to look out the IP address. Okay, he will send a query. He will send a query. He will send a query to the server, and the server will send a response. Okay, response. Okay, so let me do it. Show a demo. show a demo. Okay. Okay, not make. I believe you can see this. Make it larger. Okay. So you can do this in Mac, Linux also. Okay, using the command prompt. Okay. Suppose I want to know what is the domain names, the IP address of SOC. Okay. So use the command ns lookup. Okay. So when after I press return, okay, this machine will send a query to a DNS server. Okay, after I press return, a query will be sent from here to a DNS server. Okay, the DNS server will construct a reply and send it back to here. Okay, the query I send is basically a question. Hello DNS server, what is the IP address of www.com.nus.edu.sg? Okay, then he will reply to me with this, saying that the IP address of this www.com.nus.edu.sg is this. Okay, so I will press return. Okay, it's sent. Okay, it's sent. It's sent to which DNS server? Sending to this DNS server. Okay, this is the IP address of the DNS server. So a query is being sent to this IP address. Okay, and he give me a reply. His reply is this. His reply is the name of the IP address of this one is 45.60.35.255. Okay. Yeah. So you can try it for other things. Let's say BBC. Okay, BBC although have one domain names, it has many IP address. Okay, IP address. Okay, so okay, choose any one of them. Okay, this for load balancing. Otherwise, it's very busy. Right? Okay, fine. So that's why we need a domain name server, because the information, the association of the IP address and domain names is not static. It may change. Okay, it may change. That's why the purpose of having a domain name server is to keep track of this update. So whenever you need it, you query it. Fine? Yeah. I don't know how to get back. Okay. So we look at the protocol more detail. Okay. So just now when I type ns lookup, okay, this is actually what is being done. Okay, what's happened. After I type ns lookup, a query is sent from the client to the DNS server. Okay. Okay. You can look at the actual packets later on. Next week we'll look at it. We're using Wireshark to look at the actual data, actual bytes being sent. Okay. But right now, we can view it conceptually. Basically, this UDP packets that is being sent, okay, ask this question: what is the address of this? And you have a number also. It's more like a ticket. Like you go to somewhere, you make a query, you go to help desk, you ask a question, they will give you a ticket number, right? Okay. This is a query 567. Okay. So when you send a query, you will construct a QID query ID 6A. It's a randomly chosen. Okay. 16 bits. Okay. Then the DNS server will reply, say the answer is this, and this is for this query 6A. Fine. So this is a DNS query. Okay. This QID, okay, is when they first designed the design decision to have this QID, probably is because a client may at the same time, within a short period of time, may send out multiple query. He may send out 5, 6 query. Okay, so this QID is to when the client receives it, he know to match which query is this one correspond to. Okay, it's not for authentication, but somehow some book will call this lightweight authentication, which in some sense true, but the design intention is mainly for this ease of management. Okay, but you can view it as some form of authentication. That means that if this thing number doesn't match, it will be dropped. It will be dropped. Okay. And this message is sent using UDP. UDP. Remember what's UDP? Just now I call UDP fire and forget protocol. Right? UDP. We go back to here. It's an unreliable communication. It's a fire and forget. You construct the packet and send. Datagram and send. Okay, it's only one. Okay, one packet. Okay, one data. We don't even know whether the other guy received it or not. Okay. Yep. And the reply back is also using UDP. Okay, put in the source, destination, put in and send. Everything in one datagram. Okay. So then what is the attack? Okay, what is the attack? Let's assume that Alice is using a cafe free Wi-Fi. You go to a cafe, Starbucks or whatever, and use a free Wi-Fi, no password. Even their password, everyone knows the password. Okay, so to serve the web. Okay, then Alice want to log into nus.edu.sg. Right? Then you want to log into this, you go to a browser, key in nus.edu.sg in the browser. Okay. Alice go to a browser, key in nus.edu.sg. Okay. Now the browser need to find out the IP address for nus.edu.sg. Okay. How does the browser find the IP address? The browser actually execute the NS lookup. Okay, like just now I did before. Okay. He execute NS lookup, look up the DNS server. Okay, and then after the browser get the DNS server, get the IP address, the browser will connect to the IP address. Okay, this is a full process. Okay, if Alice in the Starbucks using the free Wi-Fi, or McDonald's using a free Wi-Fi, you want to go to nus.edu.sg, you key in on the browser address bar nus.edu.sg. The browser will do a NS lookup, find out the IP address, and then the browser will connect to that IP address. Okay, and show the thing coming from the IP address. Okay. So what is the attack? Now we assume that attacker, okay, Mallory, he's also in the cafe. He's also in the cafe. The Wi-Fi is free. Everyone can look at it. He can also use it. Because he's in the same cafe, the Wi-Fi is not protected. He can sniff. He can listen to all the communication. He can listen to it. Can he modify it? Unfortunately, he cannot modify it. Okay, right. You can imagine that this is a cafe. The packet sending over is by shouting out. Okay, you want to talk to him, you shout out. Everyone shout out, broadcast to the whole world. And a malicious guy here can get the information, but he cannot modify it. Because shout to the whole world. But this malicious guy, although he cannot modify the information, he can inject he can also shout something, right? So like this guy shout to Alice, shout to Bob, are you free today? Bob shout to the other guy, I'm free. Then the malicious guy said that, but I don't want to talk to you. Or something. Okay, he can add things. Okay, he can add things, but he cannot modify it. Okay, modify it. Okay. So we also assume that attacker own the website 1000 this, which is a fake one. It's a spoof NUS website. Okay, in this server have display exactly the same as NUS website. Okay, exactly the same. So he spoofed NUS website at this IP address. Okay, the attacker have this. Okay, first attacker can listen. Attacker can inject. Attacker also have a web server that is a spoof NUS website. Look exactly the same as NUS website. Okay. Now what does he do? Okay. Now, Alice want to connect. Alice want to connect. Okay. So, Alice where's number one? Alice one. Alice here. Okay. Alice here. Alice will do number one first. Okay. I want to connect. What is the IP address of nus.edu.sg? Alice will send this DNS request, okay, to the DNS server. Okay, so the data is sent as a UDP packet, sent to here. Okay, and the attacker, he can listen to it. He knows that Alice just sent out a DNS request. Okay, you know that at this point in time, he knows that Alice sent out something. He also knows that Alice is trying to look out nus.edu.sg, and he also knows the QID of the DNS request. Okay. Then the attacker quickly construct a datagram, okay, and send it back to the Alice and inject it to the wireless, right? Broadcast it, send it to Alice. So this datagram will have a source IP address of a DNS server. You have the source, and everything is spoof, okay? Right. So you have the source IP address of the DNS server, and then it has the QID where you copy from here, but then the answer, but he gave the wrong answer. He said that the answer is 110.10.3. Okay, fine. Okay, Alice sent out the request, okay, and then attacker saw it, quickly construct one and send it back. Okay, construct one, he spoofed the reply from the DNS server. And the DNS server also receive it, and the DNS server will reply. Okay, DNS server will also reply. Okay, so Alice will receive two reply, one from this guy and one from this guy. Because the attacker is nearer to the Alice, he's also sitting in the Starbucks. So this one will arrive earlier. Okay, if you arrive earlier, depend on how the browser is programmed, typically they will pick the first one. Okay, because they will not even see the second one, because he's waiting for the reply, right? After the reply received, then he process it, then he don't care about what is coming already, right? So even ignore and the one that arrived later, right? Okay, yeah. So now Alice take this as the answer, which is the IP address of nus.edu.sg, and now the browser will connect to 100.10, 100.3. Okay, and they say, hello, everyone, I want to log in. Then he saw the NUS website, or so getting excited, straight away type to key in the IP, her password. Okay, and then after he key in the password, this guy steal Alice's password. Fine. Okay, so this is the simple attacks. okay, which work now, okay, everywhere. Very simple. Okay. So this attacks the name resolution process, association of the name. Okay. Okay. So you give attack the name resolution, the protocol resolution protocol, so that give the wrong address. Okay. So because Alice get the wrong address, then Alice go to the wrong place. Okay. So this is DNS attacks. Okay. So this another way to view the attacks. Okay. So the problem is that there's no authentications. There's no authentications involved. When Alice receives the reply from attacker, there's no way for her to check whether this coming from the authentic DNS server. Okay. And it was designed like that. Okay. So if you have authentication, then of course it will solve the problem, but we don't have. Okay. To solve this problem, there's a new version of DNS. It's called DNSSEC. Okay, it's a secure DNS. Okay. However, that is not very popular also, and that the DNSSEC have some other issue. They make it more secure, then he have some other issue, make it less secure in terms of anonymity. Okay, but we will not cover this in this class. Also note that DNS is a very important component in the network. Okay, suppose someone want to bring down a web server. Let's say you want to bring down nus.edu.sg, the web server. Okay, because tomorrow is a deadline of the project, so no time to, you haven't done it, then you bring down the server, then the deadline will be extend, right? Okay, so let's say there's a student who you want to bring down the Numinous. Okay, so one way to bring down Numinous is not to directly bring down Numinous. Okay, is to attack the DNS server. Okay, if the DNS server is down, he unable to tell the whole world what is the IP address of Numinous. Then in some sense, then Numinous is down. Okay, so DNS become the single point of failure in the network in that sense. So a lot of denial of service attacks on web servers is actually attacking the DNS server. Okay, so this is one example. It's the attack of WikiLeaks. Okay, so don't know who want to attack WikiLeaks. Okay, so you can take a look on this. Okay, it's a DDoS on US. Okay. Now we talk about the other one, ARP. Okay, what is ARP? ARP is an association of the IP address and MAC address. Okay, every machine have a MAC address. You purchase your laptop. Okay, your laptop probably have 2 to 3 MAC address. Okay, one MAC address is for the wireless connection, and one MAC address for your wired internet connections, and you may have third one for your USB connections. Okay, so every connection MAC address in some sense is for one network card. Okay, and now, okay, but your IP address, you only have one IP address. Okay, but you may have a few MAC. Okay. So many of us probably have seen this, right? Do you have this? Or you probably have that, your father set it up, but you're not aware of this. Maybe now you go back home, take a look of this. Okay, your wireless router. You look at the back of your wireless router. Okay, this is there will be something like this that we call it ports. Okay, this port is a physical port. It's different from the port number we do, not to confuse to the layer 2 port. Okay, layer 4 ports. Okay, this is a physical port. Okay, physical port in the switch and router. Although we call it router, very often it functions as a switch. Okay, so what is a switch? Okay, this is a switch. Okay, and there are many ports, you can imagine that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 ports. Okay. So one of the ports is for wireless. Okay. And this one is for this physical ports. This one is for this, and this one for this. Okay. When you link it, put it here. This one is go to the internet. Okay, so sometimes we call this is a gateway. Okay, so in some sense, this one is a virtual node in the switch that connect to the gateway. Okay, and this could be your Apple TV, this could be your Samsung TV, and the other one probably you have one link to your desktop. Okay, yeah, and of course you have many wireless devices. So for your home, after you put in all this, you form a local area network. Form a local area network in your home. So the role of the switch is the same as just now I talked about the telephone switchboard, the operator there, right? There's a lady there, sitting there, okay? There's a lady there sitting, trying to connect. If these two want to talk to each other, then he put a link here, and then you start to talk to this two. Okay, and this one want to talk to him, then he'll switch, he'll put a connection here, then this two will talk to him. Okay, so you can imagine there is an operator here trying to connect the ports. Okay, and by design, the operator here, okay, doesn't know what is IP address. The operator here only understands MAC address. Okay, there's an operator here. He only understands MAC address. He don't understand IP address. Okay, so to him, he keep a table. He keep a table like this. Okay, maybe I put it here. This operator here. Okay, you can imagine there's an operator sitting here in the switch. Okay. It's a little man. Actually, I always like to visualize a computer. Have many little men trying to do some work. Okay, so in this switch, there's a little man here, or little woman, or whatever. Okay, he only understands MAC address. He knows that he has 4 ports. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he has 4 ports here, and he keep a tables. He keep a tables. He keep a tables. The table 1 will correspond to the MAC address. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a MAC address. Okay. He remember that for this port number 1, the MAC address is this. You remember this. Then the port 2, the MAC address is this. Port 3, MAC address this. Port 4, MAC address this. As I later illustrate in this table. Okay. But right now, you can imagine that this little man there, he keep track of these tables. When this guy want to talk to this guy, he will send the data and the destination he want to connect to. He will not say that I want to connect to port 4 because he doesn't know which ports. Okay, let me say it this way. Suppose this node want to connect to the internet. The internet is by this gateway. Okay, he will not know that this gateway is at the port 4. Okay, because when you plug it in, it depends on the person who plug it in, right? You plug it anywhere, right? So how does the computer at that point know which port is linked to? Okay, and maybe you are using another switches. This one is called port 6, right? So what he know is by MAC address. Okay, the communicate is by MAC address. He will say that, hello, okay, I have this message to be sent to this MAC address. Okay, so the message go to here. This little man here will look at the destination. Oh, this for this MAC address. Then he will look up this table. Oh, this MAC address is at port 4. Then he will forward to port 4. Fine? Okay, if a device here want to send something to the other guy, the address is all done using MAC address. Okay, you send to the switch will look up the port number and then send it, connect to that. Fine? Okay. So then you may wonder, a lot of time we're talking about IP address. Right? We want to connect to somewhere, we're using IP address. We did not use MAC address. Okay. So how is this translation of IP address to MAC address is done? Okay. This is done using ARP protocol, Address Resolution Protocol. So this is really what happened. Okay. Now, okay, we just imagine the scenario have one switch, 3 nodes. 3 nodes. Okay. This is node 2 and 3. This is under normal circumstances. This one is under attacks. Okay. Let's look at normally. Okay, it work normally, no attacks. What is happening? That's why I just mentioned that under normal circumstances, the switch will keep track of the tables. This table will have the port 1, 2, 3. And port, he keep track. This is a MAC address, this is a MAC address, and MAC address. This MAC address, the coloring, I make it the coloring. Okay, I should color this. Yeah, correct. The coloring is correct. This green, this one is for N2. This purple, this for N3. Okay, N2 have this MAC address, and N3 have this MAC address. Let's suppose that N2 have this IP address, and this one have this IP address. So now, suppose there's an application here want to connect to this IP address. There's a information to be sent to 10.0.1.4. There's something you want to send here. Okay, so suppose N2 want to send a packet to this IP address. So now the N2 have to tell the switch, okay, which MAC address is this. So N2 will have to find way to look out for the MAC address. So how is this done? Internally, in the node 2 and node 3, they store what we call a ARP table. Okay, in your computer, laptop there, you will store an ARP table. Okay, you can type ARP and some parameters. You list down the ARP tables. Okay. Yeah. So this table will list down the IP address and the corresponding MAC address. Okay. So now, if N2 want to send to this IP address, N2 will look out this table. Okay, what is the MAC address of 10.0.1.4? You look out here. Oh, it's this one. Okay, and then he send the frames to the switch, specify that he want to go into this address. Right. And now the switch, the little man here, okay, look at this, look it up, okay, port number 3. So connect to here and send to this. Okay, so this is the normal protocol. Fine. Now you may wonder, where your N2, how does N2 get this information from? How does N2 get this information from? And how does T0, the switch, get this information from? Okay, how does N2 get this information? How does T0 get this information? So suppose there's a node, okay, connect to the N1, port 1, right? Connect, you just physically take the cable, you connect, okay. And when a node connect to the port 1, he will now broadcast. He will broadcast to the whole world. Hello everyone. Okay, my IP address is this, and my MAC address is this. Okay, when he go in, he can broadcast. He can also tell a particular one person, hello, my IP address is this, and my MAC address is this. He can tell. Okay, anyone you plug in, you can tell you can make this announcement, and when anyone who heard this announcement will update the table. Okay, update the table. Fine. Okay, so this is a protocol. When you plug in, anyone can make an announcement. Anyone in the network, they can make an announcement. Hello, my MAC address is this, and by the way, my IP address is this. Okay, anyone can do that. Okay. So now let's look at the attacks. Okay, in this attacks, we have an N2, N3, and this is a table. N1 is the bad guy. He wants to be man in the middle. Okay, he wants to listen to what N2 and N3 is talking about. Not only that, he wants to modify the communication if possible. Okay, he wants to be man in the middle. So how does it become man in the middle? Okay, it's very simple. Okay, the attack is very simple. Okay, so N1, then he using the protocol, he informed N2 that MAC address of 10014 is this, is his own. Okay, he also informed N3 that MAC address of 10035 is this. Okay, he go to inform this guy, hey, the MAC address of 10.01.4 is this. It's actually his. You go tell him. So after you tell him, this be updated. Okay, after he told N3, it's being updated. And now N3 want to send a packet to the IP address 10.0.14. Okay, he will look out the table. Oh, 10.0.14 is actually this. Okay, so the frame will go to the switch. The switch look out the table. Oh, this one is a port 1. Then you send to this one. Right? Okay, so the switch will okay. So because of this, the packets will now send to N1. Okay, N1 can inspect it. N1, if you wish, can modify it. And if you want to be nice, he can also send it to N3, relay it. Right? He send it to N3. Okay. From the N3 point of view, he thought that this is coming from N2. Right? He doesn't know. Right? Okay. So you do this, he send to this. Okay. And likewise, if N3 want to send anything to N2, you will go to N1 first, and then N1, if you like, you can relay to N2. So now N1 become man in the middle in layer 2. Layer 2. Okay, fine. Any questions? Yeah. This can be done easily. Okay. As you see, why this can be done? Because there's no authentications. There's no authentications. In fact, you want to do it, you can using something called ARP tools, okay, to do it right now in this lecture hall. Okay, in this lecture hall, we are connected wirelessly, right? Okay, there is switches somewhere around here. Where is that? Okay, somewhere in this lecture theater, there's a switch here. Okay, somewhere around here. Okay, and each of our laptop or your mobile phone, okay, you use connect wirelessly, will be connected to it. Okay, and if you want to be a man in the middle between your friends, this guy, and the router, at layer 2, you conduct this ARP attacks to his phone. Okay, then you start. Okay, and it can be carried out. Okay, there's no protection. No protection. Okay. Fine. Any questions? Okay. Next, we go to another topics, denial of service attacks. Okay, DOS attacks. Okay. Okay, if you want to conduct these attacks, you can do it at home. Okay, don't conduct attacks is illegal. Okay, you can do it at home on your router, or your switches, or you can take your mobile phone, make it as the hotspot. Right, you take your own mobile phone, make it as a hotspot. Then one become hotspot. That means that your mobile phone now become the switch. Anything that connect to it, you can conduct the attacks. Okay, that probably is the safest way. Okay, to conduct, and then you conduct attack on yourself. Okay. Denial of service. Denial of service. DOS is an attack on availabilities. Okay. Basically, to deny the use. And a simple way of conduct DOS attacks. DOS sometimes we pronounce it as DOS. Distributed is called DDoS. Okay, so this we typically pronounce this as DDoS. Okay, DDoS, distributed denial of service. A denial of service attack very often is very simple. We just send it a lot of requests. Denial of service attack typically is conducted on a server. There's a server here. What does a server do? Server serve requests. Server serve requests, right? Let's call it server. Okay, so he's waiting for request. A request come, he serve it. Web server, email server. There's an email go to it, then he decide what to do. Okay, web server, email server, DNS server. DNS server, when they send in the DNS request, then he serve it. Okay. So how do you conduct a DOS on the server? A very simple form is just simply send in a lot of query. You send in a lot of query, then it's a DOS attack. It's busy doing it, then you cannot serve other requests. Okay. But to send in a lot of queries, sometimes if you are one person, very difficult to send in a lot of query. So we will get many people, okay, many attackers to send out the query. Then this is called DDoS, distributed denial of services. Okay, there are many of them. If you are one person, can only send out a few queries, but you've got thousands of them, you send it. Okay. Sometimes I always tell you not to DDoS me, right? By sending me emails. Okay, ask your question in the forum page. Okay, you keep sending to me. Now I'm a server. I have to serve the request. And during exams, okay, when you near the end of the exams, you can suddenly everyone DDoS me, right? Ask me a lot of questions. Then I forget to end the exam. Then you have extra time to answer the questions. Okay, so this DDoS. Okay. And there's one type of the DOS attack. It's called reflection and amplification attacks. Okay, if you want to send a query, okay, to this you directly send to it. Okay, directly send to it. The other way is that you do not directly send the request to the server. You send to someone else, and the other person send it to him. That's why it's called a reflection attacks. Like in this way. Okay. This is a victim. This is a victim. Okay. And the attacker, instead of directly sending it to him, okay, send the request to another node. Send the request to another node. And say that reply to me. My address is this. Okay, you send a hello message to another guy. Hello, I'm here. Please reply to me. Okay, and my address is, instead of saying my actual address, put in the victim address. Okay, say hello. Please send a reply to me. This guy will reply to the victim. Okay, so this is a refraction attacks. Fine. Okay, instead of directly sending it to him, you send to another person, right? You send, instead of directly send to him, send to another person. The other person send the query to him. Okay, so this is refraction. This particular ICMP flood even have another feature that's even better. Okay, the attacker just send one message. Just send one message. It's a broadcast message. He send one message to the router will broadcast to everyone. Okay, the same message. So he just send one query, router will amplify it to 3 query to the rest. And then everyone send the back to him, to this guy. So in this refraction attacks, there's an amplification factor. Okay, amplification of 3. Okay, so it's very nice. Okay, attacker just want to send 1 byte, the victim receives 3 bytes. Okay. So for this particular attacks, the Smurf flood, okay, will not work already. Okay, because all router turn down these services. Don't allow people to broadcast anymore. Okay, because of these attacks. Okay. There are many examples of refraction attacks. DNS attacks, refraction attacks. Okay, in DNS, remember what is DNS server, right? DNS server. You send in the query, he will reply the response. Okay, the query is a 1 packet, just send, and you can put anything there you like. For example, the source IP address. Instead of saying that send the source IP address is the attacker can specify the victim IP address as a source. Because if the okay, let me put it here. Okay, you send a query to a DNS. Okay, and the source here, instead you put in the victim IP address. Okay, when the DNS receives this information, he will reply, but the reply will send to the victim. Okay, so this is a refraction attack. There is an amplification factor. Why there's amplification factor? Usually the query is very short. I forgot number of bytes. Let's say 64 bytes or whatever. The reply can be very large. Very large. Okay, so there is an amplification factor. In fact, the amplification factor of DNS, according to this table, can be up to 179 times. That means that in some sense, if I send 1 byte here, this one is 179 bytes. Okay, the size amplified by 179 times. Okay. So in the history, what is the largest? Okay, largest amplification factor is a man cache. It is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50,000 times man cache. I forgot what is man cache. Man cache is okay, I don't remember. Okay, it's some protocol. He store the cache and then you send in, then he reply the whole thing. Okay, and there is this one is a time protocol. Okay, send the times. Okay, so anyway, okay, so this is the amplification factors. Okay, and what is the largest DDoS attacks? Okay, you can look at I think there's some event. Okay, the largest right now I guess is okay, as of November 2019. Yesterday I tried to search. It seems that this is still the largest, the record. Okay, so he able under these attacks, they generate 1.7 terabits per second of data. Okay. Okay. So now in the DDoS attacks, okay, DDoS attacks. In DDoS attacks, I mentioned that there's a server, and many people send in data, right? Okay. So are these all attacker? Yes, in some sense they are attacker, but how could an attacker recruit so army of these nodes to send it? Okay. So currently the way to do it is that the attacker, okay, they compromise many machines. Okay, these are machines compromised by the attacker. They are not owned by the attacker. They are compromised by attackers. Okay, so the attacker, what they do is that they build something called the botnet. What is a botnet? They go to compromise a lot of nodes, and then they recruit this, put it together to form the botnet. Okay, botnet are compromised machine. They are not machine owned by the attackers. Okay, so currently these are some node size of a well-known botnet. Even had 30 millions nodes for this one. Okay, so botnet the size is millions. So attacker own this. After they compromise this, they form the botnets, and then they start to sell the services to other attackers. So if someone owns the botnet, then he will publish in the dark web. Okay, anyone want to use my botnet? Okay, then there will be a customer under the dark web buy the services to conduct attacks, DDoS attacks, or to send out spam email. Okay, yeah. So also a very well-known botnet at one time is called Mirai. Mirai, M-I-R-A-I, Mirai. It's also meet the record in DDoS attacks. Okay, Mirai is get into the history is that the nodes. Okay, not only that it's huge. The nodes is actually IoT device. They are camera, IP camera. Okay. Camera using default passwords. Okay, so Mirai recruit all this and then conduct DOS attacks. Right? And okay, so these are very simple. Deny. So the botnet usually organized in this way. There are many bots. They don't actually directly control the bot, because if directly control the bot, then it can be traced. So they usually go through many layers. Okay, master, CNC, and so on. Okay, this is a famous one. Where is the Mirai? The Mirai is not here. Okay, this is all record breaking, and so on. Okay, done. Okay. So probably everyone here was here last week. So you take Liu Guanyan, Zhu Yijie, then Daniel, Lisa Ko, Ong Jin Xin, Willie Xia, Lian Chen, Zhang Haoyan, Zhang Yanyi, Nigel. Only 3 persons. Who is that? What's the name? right now. Hopefully will not include this freedom. Of course, this is the underlying. This is the underlying network. But it doesn't the switching is not the network. Switch, right? Yeah, not electronic. Yeah. The computer network also has switches. But the computer network right now uses packet switching. No, because right now packet switching. Whatever we do, normal computer, communication. But what about that? This also, it's all underlying. It's all underlying. Okay. The only difference is even phone call right now, phone call also use digital. So this is underlying. On top, Skype, WhatsApp, okay, is the application layer. The application layer you don't care about the lower layer. So right now, all the or even there is also no care. Okay? From the application layer point of view, that's why we use the no care. You even go to satellite. Whatever you want to say, hey, whatever, hey, whatever, I need out. Okay, check. You say another one, but you're whatever she said. So that imagine, right? You know everyone just shout. Right? But then you can hear, and you also can shout. You can sneak, but you cannot modify. You can spook, you can inject new one. You don't care about the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi can be as a virtual port, virtual line. So now, then after you do that, ARP but the Wi-Fi as opposed to the single one, say something to the overseas. When you say something, everyone can hear it. Everyone can hear it. It's fine. I mean, something. Broadcast. Yes. Where there's net class. I think there's net class. And then maybe I ask you. This one very sting, man. I try to pull it out.
I use the